Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video. My name is Kat, or the Fairy Librarian, and this is part 2 of my book bracket Battle of the Books type thing. If you haven't seen book 1, definitely go check that out. I'll link it somewhere. But yeah, let's dive right in. We have 5 rounds left. We'll see if that's going to be one video or that there's going to be a third part to this. We'll see how long it takes us. But let's dive right in. Okay, the first game of this round is Liar Game by Shinobu Kaitani versus A Little Bit of Christmas Magic by Kirsty Ferry. These are quite different from each other and therefore maybe hard to compare, but I was really surprised when I read A Little Bit of Christmas Magic, and I really loved that book. And even though I really enjoyed Liar Game when I was reading it, I was never like in an urge to pick up the next volume. So I think I'm gonna go with A Little Bit of Christmas Magic. So I'll talk a bit more about Liar Game. It's a manga series. It's about a girl who gets sent a whole lot of money with a note that she's playing Liar Game now. She has really no choice, and the game is you get this other person who also got the same amount of money, and you're allowed to steal it, you're allowed whatever, but at the end of the game you have to pay the same amount back, and if you have made profit, and that's good for you, then you get to keep it. If you lost, then you have to pay whatever you lost yourself. Our main girl is a really honest and naive girl, and so she enlists the help of this con man, and then they play the game together, and then things go from there. It's really fun when I'm reading it, even though it's quite predictable. But it's just I never feel the urge to read the next volume. So I've read the first 3, and I don't think I'll continue on. I said I liked it. It's fun, but yeah, there are series that I like more, and I'd rather spend my time with. But if it sounds interesting, I would recommend it. So next up, I have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss versus Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Again, 2 books that are quite different. I think pure based on in like gut feeling that I would go with The Name of the Wind. Even though I really liked Rebecca. This is a hard choice, but I'm just gonna follow my gut and say my Name of the Wind. Rebecca, if you don't know, is a gothic story. It's a classic. It's about a girl who marries this man, and she gets taken to his mansion, and everyone seems obsessed with this man's late wife, Rebecca, and throughout the book she gets obsessed too, and yeah, it was fun. The vibes were really good. And I loved the ending as well. I really loved it. Yeah, that was mostly like the atmosphere was so good, and the prose was really good. I don't have anything negative to say really about this. It's Battle of the Titans again. I love both. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to The Name of the Wind. Next up We Have Always Lived in a Castle versus The Ravens by Cass Markers and Danielle Page. So again, some very different books. This is the problem if you read a lot of genres and like a lot of different things, and you got things that are sometimes hard to compare. Um, I When I just finished We'd Always Lived in a Castle, I didn't really know what to feel. Like I felt very mixed, but the longer I think about it, the more I like it, and the more I love it. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. I really, really loved it, so I'm gonna let that one take it. Because The Ravens is a book that exists in two halves. So the first half I thought was kind of boring, and it was just a lot of teenage drama, and it was very unnecessary. And I didn't love it. But then the second half, the pace picked up, and it became more like a thriller almost, which I really liked. It's about a sorority um, in some college that is a witch coven, and then I can't tell you what the actual plot is because, as I said, it doesn't happen until like the second half of the book. Um, but yeah, there was also like there were two POV characters, Viv and Scarlet. I couldn't stand Scarlet. Like she just the second she saw Viv, she decided that she hated her, and I don't know. It was so much drama, unnecessary drama. I didn't love that part. And I was like just about to DNF it when it got good. So um, I'm glad I at least got the good part. But because it took me so long, it really deserves to go now. Next up, The Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness versus Peach Blossom Spring by Melissa Fu. Again, I sound like a broken record, but very different books. Um, A Discovery of Witches is like a paranormal romance, slight dark academia vibes type something, and Peach Blossom Spring is like a generational immigrant story. And I liked both. I think that A Discovery of Witches just did something for me and like had a theme in it that I really needed at that moment. And Peach Blossom Spring didn't have that for me. So because of that, I just felt more personally connected to A Discovery of Witches than I felt Peach Blossom Spring. So even though I think Peach Blossom Spring is objectively, whatever that means, a better book, like it's better written, and stuff, I am going to give it to A Discovery of Witches. Peach Blossom Spring is this generational story about a family in China. Um, it starts during World War II, I think, and then it goes right up to the modern day. I thought it would be dual, like the blurb made it sound like it would be dual timeline, but it's not. It's just like chronological. I really liked it. I liked the Chinese stuff. That sounds weird. Like I don't know, some like Chinese history and Chinese culture and stuff like that. That was really nice. And I loved the stories within the story and how that played a role. Um, I had a bit of a weird experience with that book because I I thought I got spoiled for it, so I was constantly waiting for something to happen. And then I reached the end of the book and it hadn't happened. So either the person who had spoiled me was just maybe confused two characters or something, or I interpreted it wrong or remembered it wrong, but it was a very weird experience because it's not like a detail that you would just overlook if you're reading. Um, so that was kind of weird. Also, there was one thing with the this role with stories on it that was kind of a big part. I was waiting for a certain thing to happen with that. Um, that was not like a fake spoiler or something, but just um, I thought something would happen that didn't happen, and I was also waiting for that, and it didn't, and it was just slightly disappointing because I would have liked that. um, but yeah, it's just that I had some expectations of where it would go, or that I thought I knew where it would go, and it went a different way, and was like, um, oh, we're doing this, okay, fine, it's cool. Um, so they gave me like a weird experience because of that, but I didn't really like it, and it's a really good book, so I do recommend it. Next up, Kindred by Octavia Butler versus the 1619 Project Born on the Water. This is a funny mix-up as it both deals like with American slavery in some type of way, but they're tonally incredibly different. I mean, first of all, Kindred is adult, 1619 Project is a picture book, but also Kindred is very like bleak and harsh and stuff, and I felt like the 1619 Project was sort of hopeful despite it all. I don't know, like, look, this is what our ancestors have been through. They're incredibly strong and whatever. And I don't know, I really, really loved it. It was really different from what I expected. And I honestly need to reread that book. So that one's going to win this one. Even though I loved Kindred as well. Um, Kindred is one of those books that you don't enjoy reading, or like probably not. Maybe someone does, I don't know, but it's unlikely that you'll enjoy reading it, but it's something that you might get a lot out of. Um, and it's really like about themes that it's exploring. And yeah, it was really good. It's about a woman called Dana who lives in the 70s, I believe. And then suddenly, out of the blue, she travels through time to the early 19th century, um, American slavery, basically. Um, and she's there for like a little bit. She saves a kid who's drowning. And then when the kid is saved, she jumps back. You're like, okay. She doesn't really know what happened. The reader doesn't know what happened. But then it happens again. And every time she stays in the past just a little longer, and the time between the jumps to the past gets shorter and shorter. And she's really scared because obviously, like a black person in that time period in the American South, it's not the safest place to be. And also just the past is not. Don't wish you can travel to the past. The past really isn't great. Um, um, yeah, it was really good. I don't know what the prose was really good too. I don't know what more to tell you. It was the themes were really good. The I loved the exploration of like what was his name, Rufus? Was that a kid's name? Um, I loved like his character and the arc of his character. I won't say more because I don't want to spoil it, but I think that was like thematically a nice arc. I'll leave it at that. Um, Next up, The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber versus The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This one is also not a very hard choice for me. This one is not a very hard choice for me. I'm going to give it to The Midnight Library because I really liked them both. But The Ballad of Never After, I just enjoyed the story and I had a fun time and I liked it, but nothing more than that versus The Midnight Library also really hit me on a personal level. So for that reason, I'm going to give it to The Midnight Library. Even though The Ballad of Never After, I also really loved. It was a really fun, like the way it subverts tropes and stuff. It's the sequel to Once Upon a Broken Heart that I talked about in part one. So check out that video if you want to know what the series is about. But yeah, I really liked it. I had made a prediction for the ending, and then I'd heard people who had read the book like talking about the ending in a way that made it possible that I was right. Um, and then I read it and I got to the end and I was like, oh no, I'm not right. And then it was announced that there is going to be a third book because before that it was kind of unclear if it was going to be a duology or a trilogy or whatever. But there is going to be a third book. So maybe I'm still going to be right about the ending. Hope so. Just on a thematic level, that would be really, really nice. I can't say it because that would spoil things, probably. Um, but yeah, I can't say it. You know what? I'm just gonna give you the spoiler. Skip to whenever these covers aren't on screen anymore if you don't want it. So if you're still here now, you probably don't mind a spoiler. So, um, in the story, there's like this thing with storytelling, right? In this land is cursed, where no one can remember the stories, and like they change every time they like no one can remember the ending when they're telling them, which I really love that as like a concept, like the story's changing every time. I really like that as a theme as well. Um, but I think that it was like the series was going to be one of those where like it wouldn't be very open ended. It like the story's curse kicked in and no one remembered the ending and stuff. And I thought that would be really satisfying if that happened. Um, I want that to happen for this third book. um, so spoilers are over now. I really liked The Ballad of Ever After. I really recommend this series. Um, so yeah, give it a try, I'd say. Next up, we have The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss versus The Provenance of Fire by Brian Staveley. Both adult high fantasy. That's at least one thing. Um, this is a hard choice, because I mean Patrick Rothfuss' prose is stunning. I'm not the first one to say that. His stories is lovely. It's really cozy. I love the vibes. Um, I love his character work. Um, the Providence of Fire is the second book in the Chronicles of the Unhewn Throne, which was a read-along hosted by the Library of Alexandria. That no one really liked. No one really liked the books, except I did. I really enjoyed them. I just thought they were a lot of fun and like a fun ride if you didn't think about them too much. Um, so I'm gonna give it to that just because I had some issues. There were certain parts in the Wise Man's Fear, like, okay, get on with the story already. Like some parts just felt very unnecessary. Felurian, if you know, you know. Which would make sense that it would tell that part as like Kavoth telling the story to someone else. But like in the book, did it really need to be there? Did it really? I don't know. I didn't like that part. Versus the Providence of Fire was never like mind blowing or anything, but it was just fun the whole way through. And even that, like it was a huge book. Like it was really long, and I flew through it. I just flew through. Um, versus the Wise Man's Fear was also real long, but I think that was too long. Um, definitely could have been shorter. And also, I don't feel as bad because I still have the Name of the Wind on air. That could get the series somewhere. Um, so I'm gonna do it here. Okay, it's gonna be the Province of Fair for this one. Next up, A Dash of Magic by Catherine Littlewood versus Remote Control by Nettie Okorafor. The thing is, A Dash of Magic is a childhood favorite for me. I love that book. I love that series as well. I found out this year, I always thought there were only 3 books in a series. I found out there were actually 9. So like I need to read the other 6 at some point. But I really love this series. Um, but it's a reread for me, and so like I wanna like so in my head it's kind of lower than it would have been a book that I enjoyed the same, like the exact same book, if it was the first time I read it, right? Because it's a reread. I know I love it. Otherwise, I wouldn't reread it. Remote Control. It's like an Afrofuturism novella, and part of me really liked it, and part of me was just very confused. And I just think that I don't really understand the story. um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I wasn't smart enough, or just read it at the wrong time. I don't know what it was, but it was just very confusing. But some part of me just, I don't know, really liked it and liked the vibe. So I have very mixed feelings about that. So I think I'm gonna do a Dash of Magic, even though I feel a bit weird, like that a reread is making it so far into it, the game. But maybe I should just accept that, and it's fine. It's all fine. Um, the remote control's about a girl who is like all by herself, and like she has this sort of magic, and everyone knows about her, and she just walks around, and I'm sure she does stuff, but I can't remember what. And I was just extremely confused while reading it. Again, maybe I'm just not smart enough for this book, but yeah. So, a Dash of Magic is gonna take this one. Next up, I have Starsight by Brandon Sanderson versus Antigone by Sophocles. These are both very recent. Um, and purely based on enjoyment, they would probably be the same like level, but in terms of themes and just quality of writing, I think I'm gonna let Antigone win here, because I really love like the themes of that story, like the worldly power versus like a higher, not necessarily godly power, but like higher moral values. And I really like the story itself. Like for a play that is over 2,000 years old, it's extremely readable. So read it. Also, I love the character work in Antigone as well. Like they're characterized so well. I mean, I was impressed with that one, especially after like the other two tragedies I didn't love as much. Um, yeah, it was good. Next up, I have. No, I'm supposed to talk about Starsight, not Antigone. What am I doing? Starsight is the sequel to Skyward. Um, which is about a girl who wants to become a pilot. And so she tries to become a pilot, even though no one wants her to be a pilot because her dad is a traitor, or so everyone says. And then this is the second book in that series, and it like broadens the world, and it like, introduces them to like a lot of different species of aliens. And I thought a lot of them were very interesting. Like, and I liked how the bad guys in this book, like the nature of them stayed kind of unclear throughout a lot of it. And like we didn't really know until like right at the end what they were. And granted, we still don't fully know, but like I don't know. I liked it, but I liked Antigone more. Next up, Highland Falcon Thief versus The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. Hard. Um, I think, again, same scenario. I think enjoyment-wise, they're at the same level, but I do think that The House in the Cerulean Sea wins it in terms of like themes and stuff. But I really love both. We're coming to like a point. Like the last video, I felt like it was really negative a lot. Here I'm extremely positive because we're just only left with books that I liked. But Highland Falcon Thief is the first book in the Adventures on Trains series, which is about kids solving crimes on trains. They're fun, like they're predictable, but they're middle grade. Like of course I'm not the target audience, so I don't mind that. But I really enjoy them. They're fun. Um, I say I only read the first book, so I don't know the other ones, but it was fun. Um, that's kind of all I can say about it. It was a good time. That's what I want from my middle grade. I just want a good fun time. And I got that. So I was happy. Okay, next up, Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan versus Dictator by Robert Harris. Again, easy one, Dictator. Like that's one of my favorite series of all time. And The Battle of the Labyrinth was a reread. Which is I don't know how, is it fourth book? I don't know, in the Percy Jackson series. I lost count. Um, it's a lot of, I love like labyrinth stories. There's something about them that I really love. I love this one. I love the friendship in it. I love the characters. I love the humor. It's really good. I like, you've probably heard of Percy Jackson at some point in your life. If you've never read it, please do. It's great. Um, but yeah, I really enjoy that series, and I need to get my act together and reread Heroes of Olympus so that I can read Trials of Apollo, because it's getting ridiculous at this point. Okay, next up we have The Girl Who Saved Christmas by Matt Haig versus Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Um, Again, I really enjoyed both, but no matter how much I liked it, The Girl Who Saved Christmas was kind of a disappointment for me. So this one's gonna go to Cinder. The thing is, I love Matt Haig. He's one of my favorite authors of all time. I really, really love his books. He almost can't do wrong, in my opinion. But I really, really, really loved the first book in that series, which was A Boy Called Christmas. And I was like expecting the same kind of level from it, but I just, there was something missing to make it like that extra, you know? So, like the first book is a Santa Claus origin story, and this is kind of a sequel, but it's set like many years later. But it's not like, I don't, it's not a direct sequel. Like I would say that you have to read the first book first because it is a chronological story. Um, but I don't know, the first one just felt like a fairy tale and felt very timeless, which I think that like you want with a Santa Claus origin story. And then the second book then was supposed to be like about the first girl that ever got presents. But then they got like historical figures in it, and I think that at one point they even mentioned like a specific date, which was somewhere in the 19th century, and I feel it was like too recent to be like the first girl ever, or received a present from Santa Claus. I don't know. It felt a little bit weird to me. There were like other things that I wasn't loving. Um, I mean, it was still really good because it's Matt Haig. Like the disappointment for Matt Haig is still better than a lot of other books. But yeah, it was a disappointment. I'm sorry. Next up, we have Legend Born by Tracy Deonn versus Hippolytos by Euripides. Easy one, Legend Born. The only reason Hippolytos has made it so far is because it was against other books that I didn't like. It was the Greek tragedy as well, which was like, I didn't hate it. I mean, the plot was fine. The characterization was also not bad, but it was very misogynistic. Like, the thing is, Antigone, which we had a little bit earlier, also had some misogyny in it. But, like, they were either the baddies or, like, Antigone herself just got really mad at it. And I was like, you can't just not, not include, like, an entire page of just women suck. That was an option. Um, so yeah, I didn't love that. And just overall, it's not my favorite flavor of Greek tragedy. I think I'm gonna stick to Sophocles. His like actual writing was my favorite out of the three Greek tragedy writers. So I'm gonna stick to his books, I think, in the future. Next up, we have Of Salt and Shore by Amit Slap versus Books of Jacob by Olga Tokarczuk. We have a Nobel Prize for Literature versus a children's book, um, which is an interesting pairing. Um, I like the themes explored in both. Um, and like thinking back at them, I really love both of them, but didn't I can't say I enjoyed reading Books of Jacob. That's not a book that you enjoy. So, like, for that, I'm gonna give it a 2 of Salt and Shore. Books of Jacob is extremely confusing. Like, it took me 3 months to read it. Um, it was it was a lot. It's about a cult leader um, that actually existed. Like, and it's very at arm's length. And there are just some gruesome things that happen, and they're just so casually thrown in there. Like, there is one person, like, someone dies, and the first thing that this other person thinks is like, oh no, he died. It's, oh, now he has a lot of blood that he doesn't need anymore. What a perfect opportunity to feed my leeches. And, like, he walks to, like, a cupboard where some leeches in it and, like, eat. And it was like, what? What is this? It was weird places. I don't know. It was confusing as hell, and it went way over my head. But I loved it. Um, it was a little bit too long. Like it could have been shorter. Um, but I don't know. I liked it. It was. It's really good. It deserves the Nobel Prize. Um, I don't know if I would recommend it. Um, I just don't know who I would recommend it to. Because on the one hand, I don't want to do this. Like, I wouldn't do this to my worst enemy, but on the other hand, I loved it. It's a very weird experience. So Do with that what you will. Next up, we have Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey versus The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. Um, Hook, Line, and Sinker. I was kind of like when I read it, I liked it, but nothing more. But the more I think about it, the more I like it. But The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is kind of like stay at the same level, I guess. Um, I mean, I'm gonna give it to Hook, Line, and Sinker. If it just would have finished it, like Hook, Line, and Sinker, and my thoughts would be where they were, like Roger Ackroyd would definitely win. But like now, I think this is a decent choice. Um, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd is exactly what it says. There's a guy called Roger Ackroyd. He's murdered, and Detective Poirot goes and solves the murder. And it's it's like Agatha Christie. I like her books. I really they read really fast as well. Um, and I really like her writing. I like her plotting is so over the top, and I love it. Like this one, not necessarily, but like if you think of like, and then there were none or Murder on the Orient Express, those plots are so over the top, and I love it. I eat it up. Um, so yeah, I love her. I love her writing. I love her plot. I love Poirot. He's an amazing character, and he's Belgian like me, which I like. Um, so sometimes it's as shallow as that. Um, I don't have any complaints about Roger Ackroyd. Um, I think it's my second favorite Christie. I liked the ABC Murders just a tidge more, but it was really good. It was a really, really good read. But Hook, Line, and Sinker was really good as well. Okay, the last one of this round, Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes versus Le Jardin des Agarans by Eric de Kermel, which is not hard for me. Le Jardin des Agarans every day of the week. Um, with Hawthorne Legacy, like the Inheritance Games series, I might talk more about that series in my previous in part one, so go there. Um, I really like they're just fun reads. Like they're quick reads. I eat them up. I love the vibes. Le Jardin de Sagaran was so good, and it stays with me. Even though I read it last January, so it's been over a year now as of filming this. I It sticks with me, and I love it, and I need to reread it. And no matter how much fun Inheritance Games series is, it can never beat my love for Le Jardin. So that one's gonna take it. Okay, we're moving on to the quarterfinals already. So first, they're up. A Little Bit of Christmas Magic by Kirsty Ferry versus The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Um, things are gonna be hard from now on, aren't they? I really like both of them. I love the cozy vibes of Patrick Rothfuss. That's like the thing that I love about his series the most. It's so, I don't know, it feels cozy. Um, a little bit of Christmas magic. I went in with zero expectations, and I was blown away by. And I think because of that surprise, that because I thought I would like the name of the wind. I expected to like it. And my expectations were already high. So like it met my expectations, but it didn't surpass them. Versus a little bit of Christmas magic, I was so surprised at it. So I think because of that, a little bit of Christmas magic is gonna happen. So the name of the wind, if you don't know what it is, if you've never heard of it before, it's about a wizard called Kavoth, and he's a legend. Um, Everyone has heard about him. Um, he's a hero, and there is this historian who comes to him and says, I don't want the legends, I don't want the stories, I want the truth. So tell me your life story as it really happened." And so Kavoth says, "Okay, we'll do that. I need 3 days." So the first book is the first day, second book is the second day, and the third book, which isn't out yet, which will it ever come out? Nobody knows. Um, that's on the third day. Um, so it's very slow, it's very character driven, and I love it. The prose is stunning. If you haven't read it yet, go read it. It's really good. It's really really good. Next up, We've Always Lived in a Castle by Shirley Jackson versus The Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. Um, like based on like enjoyment, themes, those sort of things, it would be at the same level. I just think that We've Always Lived in a Castle is much better written than A Discovery of Witches. Like, A Discovery of Witches is a debut, um, and it does have some flaws, um, which you're always going to get with a debut. So for that reason, I'll choose We've Always Lived in a Castle. But A Discovery of Witches is a paranormal romance about a witch who is studying some manuscript in the Bodleian Library because she's also a historian. He wants having nothing to do with magic. She doesn't want to use her magic. She just want to live a normal muggle life. They don't use that word. Muggle life. And then suddenly, while she's studying the manuscripts, she stumbles upon this old manuscript that all magical creatures have been looking for over a century. And so she doesn't know what it is. And she tries to find it back, but it's lost again. So she, together with this very handsome vampire, go try and find out what this manuscript is, while then also trying to avoid some powerful other magical creature people who want the manuscript. And it's very weirdly paced, I'll tell you that. Like, you know how in Lord of the Rings, you have like the big epic climax, and like a lot after that, like it's like a mini climax after that. I love that in Lord of the Rings, don't get me wrong, I really love that part. But I think it's like you kind of get something similar. They like get like sort of a climactic moment that looks almost like it would be an ending, but it's like only halfway through the book. Like you have still like half the book left. It's like not even following action to the events before, because like at least in Lord of the Rings is like the big finale, and we have like a lot of consequences from that. There is the first book, and like a lot of it's not. I know I get why they cut off the first book, or they did, because there is something that creates like a natural divide. But also, like, the pacing was really weird in this book because we didn't get like another climax or something. It was just like, okay, we're done now. Um, so Yeah, but I really liked it. I liked the character work. I liked the romance. Also, like the female lead was like an actual adult. She already had a PhD, which I appreciate that. Like I don't hate like the fact that with like teenage girls with 1,000-year-old vampires doesn't bother me as much as it does other people. But I appreciated that this was not that, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really liked it. There was like a theme that just hit me in some place. Um, so yeah, I really liked it. Next up, the 1619 Project Born in the Water by Nicole Hannah Jones, Renee Watson, and Nicholas Smith versus The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Oh, this is hard. This is so hard. Um, I think if I wouldn't have read The Midnight Library when I did it, I would have picked the 1619 Project because I read The Midnight Library at the time that I did. It really spoke. There was something extremely specific in the book. It was not like general themes, like a really like specific detail that just hit me really hard because of something that happened to me that was related to that detail. And like it was emotional and it really helped me get through that. So just for that, and because it's Matt Haig, let's be honest, I choose that one, even though I loved the 1619 Project. It's like a picture book in verse about American slavery, but very hopeful, which I really liked. It was like, I don't know, it was not like slavery was good or something like that. Of course not, but I don't know, it wasn't depressing. I think I thought that it would be depressing and it wasn't. And I appreciated that. And I was very pleasantly surprised when reading it. So and the illustrations were gorgeous. They were just okay. Next up, Providence of Fire by Brian Staveley versus Dash of Magic by Catherine Littlewood. I already said earlier that like A Dash of Magic is a reread, and so I feel kind of weird letting it like get too far. And I think Province of Fire, I didn't expect this book to make it this far, but I think like it's able to like knock the reread out. Is it though? I don't know. I don't know. Like, if anyone like from that reread from Alice's Court is gonna see this video, they're gonna lose their mind that Brian Staveley makes it into the quarterfinals. But I think that's gonna happen. It's gonna be that Dash of Magic. It's great. It's a childhood favorite. It is the second book in the Bliss Bakery series, which is about a magical bakery. Um, Second book is my favorite. I reread that a lot, like a lot more than the first one and the third one, and then apparently there's 6 more that I haven't read yet. But I love it. The second book is just also just the tropes in the second book are perfect for me. There's like an international baking competition. Like you have the recipes of their magical pastry, and they have like a special ingredient. It's like the wish of a ghost, or the blush of a queen, or what else is there? The secret of the Mona Lisa, or something like that. And then they have like this weird like measurement thing. Um, yeah, I love this series so much. It's so good. It's so good. But it's a reread, and I can't justify having a reread in the quarterfinals. Um, I feel like that's unfair. So I'm sorry, you have to go. I'm so sorry. Okay, next. Antigone by Sophocles versus the House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I'm gonna read something controversial and I'm gonna kick out the House in the Cerulean Sea. I really love that book, but not as much as a lot of other people seem to. Um, it was like I heard it described Pixar movie in a book, which I agree with. I love Pixar. If you like Pixar, you will like this. But I didn't like a lot of people got really emotional and like they cried and stuff. I didn't have that. I loved it. I really enjoyed it, but not on that level. Um, I think on it, as I already said, I really love the themes. It's an amazing play. Next up, Dictator by Robert Harris versus Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Dictator, again, even though I really love the Lunar Chronicles, I think so. The thing with the Lunar Chronicles, I always want to love retellings because I love the philosophy behind retellings. I don't know. Maybe I'm making it deeper than it is, but I love the idea of like a retelling. But I'm often disappointed at them, and I think that they're really hard to do. And this series just balances being the fairy tales they're based on with being its own thing really well. Like they nail it, these books. So I really, really love it. I love how the series, I'm talking about a series, not about the first book, but I love how like the series escalates with each book, and love it. I love it. I'm currently reading the third book. So good. Read the series if you haven't already. Oh my god. Yeah. But Dictator, I love that series too. I'm rereading that series again real long for the Library of Alexandria, but people are enjoying this one more, which is really good because it's one of my favorite series of all time. So okay, Robert Harris, Dictator, one has it. Next up, Legend Born with Tracy Dion versus Of Salt and Shore by Alex Again, I'm going to be controversial because I liked Legend Born, but I didn't love it as a lot of other people seem to. So I'm going to give it to Of Salt and Shore, just because I want to give it like exposure and I want to like as much as possible because I want people to read it because it's so good. Legend Born, if you don't know, is about a girl who is like in an early college program on UNC Chapel Hill, and then Arthurian legends inspired things happen. And she's a black girl, so racism is a theme as well. And it's good, but I liked it, but not I didn't love it. Also, like the girl has a therapist because also her mother died, so that grief is a thing as well. The girl is a therapist. She's a terrible therapist. Like, she's not like Mariana from the Maidens level terrible therapist. She's not a good therapist either. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. I also thought it was kind of predictable. So, Okay, next up. Hook, Line and Sinker by Tessa Bailey versus Le Jardin de Sagaran by Eric de Kermel. Le Jardin, my favorite standalone of all time. It's probably, let's be honest, it's gonna make the best book. Who am I kidding that I'm actually letting them compete like this? I already know. It's really good. Of Salt and Sugar was also really good. It's a contemporary romance about um, like someone who works in the filming industry and they were looking for a location to film something in, and she um, remembers a place that she'd been to the last summer that would be perfect. And there lives Fox, who's the male lead, and friends. And so she's like, "Hey, can I stay with you for a while we're filming this?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And romance ensues. It's the companion novel to Happened One Summer. You know that one? I do recommend reading It Happened One Summer first because I haven't read that one yet. I'm still going to, but I felt like there were like some things that I really missed, like in terms of like character development. I felt like it was not the beginning of the arc in some places, and like the relationship development. I felt like it was not the beginning of the arc that I missed something that probably would have been in the other book. That should be read first, but other than that, was really good. I like the prose. Um, it was on the steamier side than what I was used to. I heard the book one is a lot steamier than book two, so uh, but well, I don't know. I really liked it. Also, like the plot, it was really good, and it, especially the character. I love Fox so much. He's I love him. I'm gonna protect him at all cost. He's oh yeah, I really love him. Okay, we've come to the quarterfinals. So let's see who makes it into the semifinals. Okay, we have A Little Bit of Christmas Magic by Kirsty Ferry versus We've Always Lived in a Castle by Shirley Jackson. Again, two very different books. Um, oh my god, this is hard. Oh wow. Um, I think in terms of themes, that Shirley Jackson may win this one. And I also think I was just a little, like the actual writing in We've Always Lived in a Castle was a little bit better, I think, than A Little Bit of Christmas Magic. Even though I love Kirsty Ferry's writing, don't get me wrong, I adore it. I'm gonna give it to We've Always Lived in the Castle. A Little Bit of Christmas Magic is a novella in the Rossetti Mystery series, which I haven't read any other books in that series. It was my first book by Kirsty Ferry that I read. I had no expectation going into it. I was blown away by it. So it's about a woman who works as a wedding planner in a certain hotel where they have weddings. And she has to arrange a wedding on Christmas Day. And while she's preparing for it, she sees this man that she vaguely recognizes from somewhere, but she can't pinpoint it. And they have a drink, and then stuff happens, but I don't want to spoil it. Don't rate reviews on Goodreads because I think that they give away a little bit too much. I think that you should go in not knowing what happens. I mean, it's not gonna blow your mind or anything, and maybe you'll be able to predict it. But like, I wouldn't tell you up front what it is. I really liked it. Like, there was some really good friendship going on. Some nice conversations about things, which again, spoilers, so I will not mention those. It was a hug of a book. I read it in a day. It's not a, I hesitate calling it like a romance because the ending is like both happy and sad. I don't know how to express it better, but like that's the vibe we're going with. So yeah, I really liked a little bit of Christmas magic, but it's gonna be We've Always Lived in the Castle. Next up, Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Um, Midnight Library is gonna have it easy. Like Providence of Fire, as I already said, it was just like a fun time, like fast paced, action packed, popcorn read. Just don't think about it too much and you'll have a good time. I talk about more about what it's about in the first video, so if you want to hear that, I'll direct you there. But as I already said, the Midnight Library really hit me deep, so yeah, this one's gonna take it. Next up, Dictator. I already told you, like, I already talked about both of these books. So I'm not going to repeat myself because I don't want this video to get too long. But Dictator, I already said, it's amazing. I love it. I love this series. I'm rereading it. It's that late, can't topple. I'm thinking it. So, this one wins. And then Assault and Shore versus Le Jardin des Agarants. Le Jardin is going to win. I already said that it would probably win, but I haven't talked about Salt and Shore yet, which I'm going to do. It's a middle grade about a girl who is the daughter of, it's their father's job to make sure that the, what's it called? Firehouse is always burning. Um, and there's one day where they ran out of matches, and so they couldn't light the firehouse. And it was a storm and a ship. Like there was an accident because of that. Like no one got wounded, luckily. Um, but there's a lot of material damage that I have to pay back, and they don't have the money. So our main girl has to get a job, like as a servant, and it's a book about friendship, not being afraid, about not having like prejudice against people because she's gonna meet someone at this house. This is a very scary house, like Gothic mansion vibes. She's gonna meet someone there. It's gonna be great, and it's nautical, seaside. There is some like low-key pirate action going on. There is some other nautical stuff going on. I don't know. It was really good. I loved it so much. There was like I think that the ending got resolved. Like there were a few things that got resolved really fast in the ending, and I wanted like just a little bit more time for that maybe, but I don't know. It was really good. Go read it. Like if any of that sounds interesting, go read it. Okay, we've almost reached the end. We have 4 semi-finalists left. So let's see who makes the finale and who wins. Our first 2 contenders are We Have Always Lived in a Castle by Shirley Jackson versus The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I already said The Midnight Library. I mean, it's Matt Haig. It really helped me process something that happened. And even though I love We've Always Lived in a Castle, It can't top that. Then we have Dictator by Robert Harris versus Le Jardin des Agarons. Le Jardin wins. Again, I already said that. Um, Dictator is the third book in the Ficaro trilogy, which is one of my favorite series of all time. It's great. I love the humor in it. I love the writing of it. I love Tiro's voice because that's like Ikaru's secretary, and he's the narrator of the story. I love his voice. I love like the historical detail in it, and I also love the series is set in like a very politically complex time. I'll say, like with civil wars going on, we have like a lot of rapid shifts going on. It's very tricky time, and it's very complicated, the story, but it's told as digestible as possible, which I really appreciate. And yeah, I think you'd be fine if you don't know a ton about Roman history. Like there'll be a few things maybe, but I think that you'll be able to follow the story fairly well. Um, but yeah, it's really good. Go read it. It's fantastic. I love it. And then the final, an easy choice because Le Jardin des Agarons is the single best standalone that I have ever read in my entire life. It is so good. It's about a man called Paul, and he is depressed and dealing with grief. And he gets a letter from his sister who lives in Zagaran, say like, come here for a little while, see how you feel here. Just come live with me for a while. But they say that whoever goes to Zagaran never returns. Um, well, you know what? I'm going. He promises the dad that he will return, and he goes off. And there, like the thing is, it doesn't really have a plot. It's just this exploration of a different way of living and like in harmony with each other and with nature, and it's just so lovely and peaceful and calming. And people, like the thing of like people not returning, it's not because it's like cursed and you're stuck or something, but because it's so good there that they don't want to return to society with all its stresses and all the problems that it has, because they like it's a utopia. um and I need this book to be translated into English so I can push it on everyone. um there is like we have like weaving as like a theme in it. Like that's like a symbol for a bigger theme. It's like it's really a theme book and an exploration of this thing. It's not plot driven or anything, but I love it. I want this place to exist, and I want to live there. So that's my favorite book of the year. To be honest, I already knew this before I even started this entire tournament that that would be my favorite book, because who am I kidding? Um, but yeah, if you know French, if you can read in French, go read the book. It's really good. It's really good. Um, so yeah, that is the video. If you have any thoughts on the books that I talked about in this video, let me know. Let me know your favorite book of the year. I would love to know. Let me know what wrong decisions I made yell at me because Brian Stavely got so far. Whatever you want to let me know. And I hope that I will see you again in another video. Bye.